What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck centered around Buzzwole-GX and Garbodor, and I just want to give a shout out to Supagasi for giving me the deck list that this list in particular is based off of. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder that if you guys liked this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, it helps us out a ton. And lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, actually before I get into the question of the day, I want to really quickly apologize for my voice. Yeah, I've been dealing with some allergies. Hopefully it'll get better over the course of the video. But if there are random cracks or just kind of sounding weird, which, I mean, to be fair, isn't too much out of the norm for me, yeah, that's the reason why. So I apologize for that. But yeah, as for the question of the day, normally I like to do a question of the day that is somewhat related to the deck in some way, shape, or form, but considering I'm starting to run out of those, and I just want to learn more about you guys, my question of the day today is, what is your favorite meal to cook? And if you don't cook yet, just what is your favorite meal in general? For me, I have to say that originally my favorite meal to cook was grilled cheese, because I mean, you just slather it in butter, you get that perfect little browning of it, and it's absolutely delicious. However, unfortunately for me, my metabolism decided to not run forever, which I mean that happens to all of us. So when I realized I couldn't have super buttery grilled cheese anymore, I had to start eating a little bit more healthy. So right now my go-to meal is just chicken and vegetables. But my favorite meal is going to be on my quote-unquote cheat day. I'm not on a diet, but I like to have a meal that's not like super healthy. I mean, it's still like a solid meal, but it's not like super duper healthy like I've been trying to eat, and that is shepherd's pie. Just, it takes a while because I mean, you have to brown the meat, cut up the veggies, layer it, get the mashed potatoes ready, and then you still have to cook it for an hour afterward. But I don't know, it's just something so satisfying about pulling the shepherd's pie out of the oven and being able to eat it. I don't know, I really enjoy making and eating shepherd's pie, so I'd have to say that is my favorite food to make. Let me know what your guys' favorite food to make or eat, if you don't make food, in the comment section down below. Love to hear what you guys enjoy cooking and what you guys enjoy eating. But anyway, on to the deck, like I said, centered around Buzzwole-GX and Garbodor, and basically the whole goal of this deck is to just have Buzzwole Jet Punch its way to victory and then have Garbodor shut down abilities of your opponent. Now, so many decks these days rely on abilities in order to succeed. I mean, technically this deck even does too, because of Garbotoxin, but the whole goal, attack for cheap, spread around damage, keep our opponent from being able to get going much at all, and really just kind of try to ride that to victory. I mean, yeah, there are some matchups that this does struggle with, but overall, in my testing, like, this deck wins games surprisingly quickly. And even if you get dragged into a longer game, the fact that we are locking our opponent out of abilities while we don't rely on them at all, and that Buzzwole can hit for some very good damage, like Knuckle Impact does 160 damage, and then Absorption, admittedly later game it's not as good, but still, Knuckle Impact for 160, that allows you to compete in the longer games, like take 2 shots on certain things. With Strong Energy and Fighting Fury Belt, you're able to take Okos on certain GXs, so this deck really does have what it needs to compete not only early game, but late game as well. So running through the deck, I mean, the Pokemon, it's very straightforward. You have your main attacker in Buzzwole, you have 4 of those because, I mean, you want that out as quickly and as often as possible. 2/2 of Trubbish and Garbodor, just enough to where we can reliably get it out, but at the same time not overwhelm the deck, because we only need 1 Garbodor out at a time. You don't need 2 Garbodor out. I mean, I guess there are certain situations where you'd prefer having 2 over 1, like if you're really just all in on locking your opponent out of abilities, and whether or not you lock them out determines if you're able to win. So, I mean, yeah, there are situations where you want to, but usually one Garbodor is plenty, and you want to put the rest of your deck towards supporting Buzzwole in just enough to where Garbodor can function. And then my personal twist, I threw in a couple copies of Zygarde-EX just because of the type weakness. Zygarde does similar to Buzzwole in that it attacks for a single energy, and then the more energy you attach, the harder it hits. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the bench sniping damage that makes Buzzwole so good. So the only reason that Zygarde is in this deck is for the different type weakness. This way, against like Psychic decks, we don't just auto lose because Buzzwole is weak to them, and we really would only have Lele as an attacker. And Lele, while it's a very good attacker, if our opponent doesn't have just a ton of energy on it, then Lele really can't hit for a ton of damage, and especially in this deck with no DCEs, we can't go ahead and just attach and attack with Lele every turn. It takes 2 turns to simply attack with Lele, which is not something that you want to do. So yeah, we have Buzzwole and Zygarde as the main attacker. Just try to cover a couple weaknesses and not just auto lose in certain matchups. 3 Lele, very large number, so that we can get the supporter that we need. And also, I mean, Lele is a backup attacker, although very less than ideal. And also, when you get Garbodor set up, don't play Lele anymore. But really, you want to have that early game so you have the consistency and so you get set up in ways that you want to. 2 Enhanced Hammer to get rid of our opponent's special energy. 4 Max Elixir to try to power up our attackers as quickly as possible. I'm going to start going through these a little bit quicker because you guys just want to see this in action. 1 Super Rod for Recursion. 4 Ultra Ball to guarantee to get what we want when we want. 2 Parallel Cities just to kind of continue along the theme of disruption. Could have gone with Brooklet Hill to get Buzzwoles out a little bit easier, but I ultimately decided on Parallel City just to limit our opponent, because if we limit our opponent's bench space and limit their use of abilities, we will be in a much better spot. 4/4/4 of Guzma and Sycamore, just kind of, that's, I mean, it's very solid line and it works very well. It's very consistent and you can get what you want when you need it. 2 Acerola to also scoop up Buzzwole that have been damaged and deny our opponent's prizes as well as retain energy. 3 Fighting Fury Belts for longevity and damage output. Absolute max number of Float Stones because this deck is so heavily reliant on shutting off our opponent's abilities. We want to be able to just have Garbotoxin active at all times. 4 Strong Energy, boost damage output, and then 9. Now we're running a ton of regular energy. This is so we can more consistently hit Max Elixir while still being able to run the 4 Strong Energy. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes right there. And yeah, I mean, a very, very straightforward deck, but it does, like, you really have to plan out where you put the 30 damage from Jet Punch. Like, it's very straightforward, and it seems like it's a very basic deck. But there actually is a ton of thinking that you have to do when you play this. So, yeah, I'm done talking about it. Let's just go ahead and see this deck in action. Alrighty, we have got one against Cardanbar? Cardanbar? I don't even know. Card and Bar. That sounds like a place where you grab a drink while playing a trading card game, which, don't get me wrong, would be kind of awesome. We do win the coin flip, and I do want to go first, because even though we can technically attack on our first turn, like if we go second, I still want to get my Garbodor set up as quickly as possible, just because that gives me, in my opinion, the best opportunity to win any given matchup, just because I really don't rely on abilities at all. And we have a Turtonator Yanma. Okay. Well, honestly, zero idea what my opponent is running at all. And now I'm just gonna, yeah, attach and pass. I don't want to get rid of both of my Garbodors. I can seriously just play kind of a patient game at this point. That's annoying. So he's going to Shell Trap me, which is going to hit me for 50 damage, and then if I attack him, that's going to hurt. But what I'm going to do is attach another energy, and then let's Guzma up the Yanma so that we can get rid of that from my opponent. We can get rid of the effect on the Turtonator, and then let's grab a Trubbish, play that down. That way I can get a Garbodor up next turn. And at the very least, I will be able to Jet Punch. It's not going to do a whole lot to the Yanma because Yanma does have resistance, but the important thing is I did get 30 damage off on the Turtonator, meaning that Knuckle Impact will be a knockout next turn, or I could just go for my Z move. But, I mean, either way, I should be able to get a knockout on my opponent's Turtonator, even though he does, well, he is going to retreat into it right there with a Darkness Energy, so I legitimately have zero idea what my opponent is running right now. I get hit
for 50 damage. Even after Shell Trap, I will still be alive. And I think... So I'm going to attach the energy there, that way I can get the knockout. Let's evolve into Garbodor, and then Sycamore for a new hand, and here we go. Okay, now I can start really doing something. Because I can, well, I can Max Elixir, I whiff it, but let's go ahead and do that. And then let's just, I guess, Absorption GX. That way I can still Knuckle Impact next turn if I need to. I'm not going to be knocked out by the recoil. And I do take 2 prizes. If my opponent knocks out my Buzzwole, well, that's cool. I still have 2 Buzzwoles on the bench that I can just promote and attack with. And I'm in a pretty solid position right now. We have the Rescue Stretcher. He's going to grab his Turtonator. That's fine with me. I can Guzma that thing up and hit it with a Knuckle Impact this coming turn. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just in a really good position right now. My opponent even has to go for a Puzzle of Time in order to rearrange the top 3 cards of his deck. So that works out perfectly for me. And this is even better because what I can do is just Acerola up my Buzzwole that has all the damage on it, promote a new Buzzwole, and then just start, just start Jet Punching for 30 and 30. Won't do much to the end, and my opponent does end up conceding after that because he sees, oh, well, all the damage that he had done to my Buzzwole, I just healed off, and I would have been able to just continually Jet Punch, just keep hitting stuff while having a ton of energy as well. So, very, very quick first game, but Buzzwole still was very swole, and that ended up working out very well for us. So, yeah, solid first one. Let's go ahead and try to find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have got another one against Crunkster, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a pure Psychic deck. So this is going to be interesting because we are going to be at a type disadvantage, unfortunately. However, that is exactly why I have Zygarde in the deck. That's just, I mean, that's why. That way we don't just auto-lose to Psychics and, well, even though I don't have a supporter, this first hand actually works out really well for me because what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the Trubbish and then play my Buzzwole down there because I do have the Float Stone. I can Max Elixir onto the Buzzwole, potentially get 2 energies on it immediately with an attachment and Max Elixir and just be 1 energy away from being able to Jet Punch, no, whatever, to be able to GX attack, just hit one thing and knock it out, just go for some very big damage. And he even plays a DCE, so this is perfect for me. Because, yeah, I mean, he just plays a DCE, nothing else, and I do get another Buzzwole, which is nice. But let's go ahead and play that. We luckily do hit it. I get the Max Elixir. I'm just going to play this onto my Buzzwole, Enhanced Hammer away that DCE, Float Stone up my Trubbish, and then Strong Energy up that same Buzzwole. That way, even if my opponent has an Enhanced Hammer or something to that effect, I still am able to attack with Buzzwole. And there we go. Hit 100 damage on our first turn, which, I mean, I'll take that any day of the week. I don't even have a supporter, but I'm still actually pretty decently okay with my hand. He can... Yeah, I mean, he does have the Enhanced Hammer. I kind of figured that this was like a Drampa Garbodor deck, and they do run Enhanced Hammer, so if he did have that, still wanted to be able to attack with my Buzzwole. And also, I mean, the Righteous Edge as well was another option with the Drampa if he just got any energy of any kind onto it, which would have gotten rid of my Strong Energy. So, I mean, I got the extra damage, which is what I wanted. But, ooh, and Espeon. So this is going to get tricky. Espeon is going to be a problem. Just Rainbow Energies up the Trubbish, which is fine with me. And I get a Lele. So, want to play that down first, obviously, because I don't want to Garbodor and then Lele, because that would just be kind of dumb, because then Lele's ability would be shut off. And I can Guzma, but I mean, I think the smart play right now is to just Sycamore. I mean, Drampa, I will be able to, I'll be able to Jet Punch this turn. Even if I don't get a Strong Energy, I still will be able to hit that for some solid damage. Don't get another supporter, which is kind of weird. But I do get Fighting Fury Belts, which I can definitely use. And then let's Parallel City, put my opponent down to 3 bench slots. And then Max Elixir. Do I want to just play that? Let's play this onto the bench one. And then I'm going to hold on to my Max Elixir just in case Garbodor comes down, because I don't want that thing hitting for a pretty ridiculous amount of damage. So what I'm going to do right now is just damage the Eevee. What I could have done alternatively is targeted down the Trubbish. That way, if he sent Eevee up, I would be able to just one-shot that thing and then hit Trubbish for the remaining damage. But I figured that just starting to snipe down Trubbish would be the best chance. And he does just play another Drampa and goes for the Acid Spray. Doesn't have much of anything, and yeah, my opponent just ends up conceding. He did have the type matchup. However, I mean, Buzzwole was just able to overwhelm him with spread damage and decent just Jet Punches early. Like, Jet Punches early and then shutting down abilities is what this deck is all about. And we were able to do that, luckily, to where my opponent wasn't able to do anything, and we're able to overcome the type disadvantage that we were at. So, I mean, again, these matches are going quickly, but that's kind of how it goes with Buzzwole-Garbodor. I mean, you just kind of shut your opponent out early or are able to OTK them pretty early as well. So, yeah, let's go ahead and try to find another one. Alrighty, we have found another one against a Ratchet Persian with what looks like a Metagross deck, and based on the coin, the type makeup, all that, I'm pretty positive that this is a Metagross deck. So that's going to be interesting. I mean, if we can get the Garbodor set up, then my opponent really just will not be able to do anything, because Buzzwole will definitely overwhelm him if we do get in a good enough position, which, I mean, I'm pretty sure we should be able to. I mean, it is Buzzwole-Garbodor. It doesn't take that long to get set up. And once we shut off abilities, then Metagross just really will have to just take a bunch of hits. He'll run out of Field Blowers before I'll run out of Float Stones, hopefully. Because, I mean, if that happens, then I do just kind of have the game in the bag, because if he can't use Metagross's attacks, like if he can't just repeatedly switch out Metagross and repeatedly power them up, then he really does not have a whole lot of chance. And okay, so I start with Trubbish and Buzzwole, and then 2 Guzma. But I do have Max Elixirs, so because of the Guzma and the Max Elixirs, I'm actually going to put Trubbish as the starter. I mean, I did this last time when I had the Max Elixirs, but that was because I had a Float Stone. In this case, I have Guzma, which works out just as well, I guess. I mean, if I draw an energy and hit both of these Max Elixirs, I will actually be able to hit for 160 or use my GX attack turn 1, which, I'll be honest, I really don't want to do. I would kind of prefer to save that. The Choice Band does go down onto the Beldum. Either way, that Beldum's coming up, and I'm going to try to hit that thing with a Jet Punch. I mean, Knuckle Impact keeps me from attacking. My opponent ends, which actually is kind of unfortunate. I mean, even though I didn't have a good, like, a draw supporter, I liked my hand, because if I just drew an energy, I would have been able, would have been in a great spot, and, well, I get the Guzma anyway, so this isn't, like, perfect by any means, but it still works. So, first things first, let's Guzma up the Beldum, attach energy to the Buzzwole, limit my opponent's bench spaces, that way he can't just, like, get a couple more Beldum out there, and then Knuckle Punch. So, I mean, it ended up working out pretty well for me. I mean, I did like my starting hand, but this hand I like better because we do have another supporter for next turn, like a draw supporter. So I don't just have to worry about my opponent. He is going to Max Potion. What's he going to Max Potion? He's going to Max Potion the Cosmog, which gets rid of an energy, and that's... I mean, that's okay with me. He does have to get rid of the Rescue Stretcher as well, so hopefully I can just overwhelm his Beldum, because, like, if I just target those things down, that works out beautifully, and this is even better. He had to waste one of his Field Blowers on my Parallel City. Like, that's just phenomenal. Because now he can't, like, Field Blower away my Float Stones, or he'd only have one more to work with, because usually they only run 2 at the most. They don't run 3. That's not something that I've seen. And yeah, my opponent just decides to concede right there. I would have been able to knock out the Beldum. He didn't have a backup one, and then I probably would have been able to knock out the Cosmog afterward if my opponent didn't get anything else down. So yeah, just able to Buzzwole my way through him in another game, and these are really, really short, but fingers crossed we can get a better one after this. But yeah, let's go ahead and try to find another one. Alrighty, we have got another one against Fishalicious with a Psychic and Water deck. Really hoping this isn't some sort of Lapras, like Quad Lapras type of deck, because that would just make me very, very sad, and I really don't want to have to deal with that. I start off with, well, a little bit less than ideal, but at least I'll get my Trubbishes out. I guess that's, I mean, that's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. And, oh, it's a, what is it? It's a Greninja break deck. Sorry, I just completely forgot for a second. And I'm definitely going to play my second Trubbish down, because if I am able to get 2 up, 2 is twice as difficult to deal with as 1, fun fact. And let's just Float Stone up, see if we can force him to waste a Field Blower early, because if he does, I mean, just like the Metagross matchup, the sooner he wastes his Field Blowers, the better it will be for us. I mean, just puts us in a much, much easier situation and much more likely to be able to win this game if our opponent has to waste their Field Blowers early and not use them like strategically to take advantage. He does bubble and he will paralyze me. That's fine. I do have the Ultra Ball for a Garbodor. That way I can just like Ultra Ball into that. I'm gonna play the Zygarde down. Let's Parallel City, limit his options, because it looks like he is running Tapu Lele this way. If he does run Lele, then he is forced to only have 2 spots for the... He's forced to only have 2 spots for Frogadier when he does Water Duplicates. I'm going to Ultra Ball. No other Leles. Well, I mean, I did just discard 2 of them turn 1. Grab that Garbodor, that way I'm able to attack, and I don't want to end, because, I mean, my opponent clearly had nothing. But at the same time, like, I want to just start putting on pressure, because Garbodor in itself should put on plenty of pressure, I would think. So I'm just going to actually start attacking with Zygarde, because it does do more damage due to the stadium being in play. And this way I can also knock that thing out with Jet Punch next turn if I do decide to go that route. So he does counter my stadium with a Brooklet Hill. I mean, if I needed to, I could take advantage of that as well, but I really don't. I think as long as I just play my Float Stones very, very efficiently and very patiently, then I should be fine. Yep, we do see him waste the first Field Blower. That is excellent. He's not even able to use like Giant Water Shuriken on the turn that he does go for the Field Blower, so that is phenomenal for me. That is the exact reason that I held on to the Float Stone last turn instead of just going ahead and playing it, because, I mean, if I'm able to just constantly stream Float Stones onto my Garbodor, then my opponent can really just do pretty much nothing. Like, there's really not a whole lot he can do. He is going to just Water Duplicates this turn. He's down to 1 card in his hand, so hopefully that works out for me. Does he hit all 3 of his... Yes, he does. So he had all 4 Frogadier not prized, which is good for him. Let's Float Stone up. Actually, so there are Leles. I can go ahead and Super Rod into Lele. But first things first, let's actually take advantage of that. Grab another Buzzwole, might as well. I mean, this does kill the Super Rod into Ultra Ball for a Lele for a supporter, but I think this is a little bit better. Let's Guzma up one of his Frogadiers, reattach a Float Stone, and then just damage that, or knock out that Frogadier on the bench with a Jet Punch. I really didn't need to bring it up, and there's my Enhanced Hammer. That would have been nice to have to get rid of that Splash Energy so that my opponent didn't get to reuse his Froakian Frogadier. But I think as long as I keep just streaming the Float Stones on a Garbodor, I mean, I've wasted 1 Float Stone, he's wasted 1 Field Blower. Now, he could be running 3 Field Blower, because, I mean, that's something that I could actually see in a Greninja deck. But I think the best play... But I think, like, even so, he would be running 3 at max. I'm running 4 Float Stones. He's just going to attack and retreat. That's honestly okay with me. I have a Guzma. Do I want to bring something up, or do I want to wait? What I think I'm going to do... I can only do 100 damage with Lance Wrath. But I can put Greninja... Yeah, I can put Greninja in range with Jet Punches, plus Lance Wrath, plus if I get a Fighting Fury Belt. But what I'm going to do right now is just hit the Greninja for 30 more, hit the Tapu Fini, start weakening both of those. This way, like, I want to just spread enough damage around, that way I can eventually just send up my Zygarde and then just finish things off with repeated Lance Wraths, because the only thing with Buzzwole, you can't get back-to-back huge attacks. Well, I mean, You can if you go for Absorption GX into its second attack and hit for 160. Like, that you can. But, like, you can't just come in 5 straight turns, just knock stuff out with big attacks. So, I mean, that's why I was attaching to Zygarde right there. My opponent saw, okay, I have Garbodor set up with another Float Stone. He'd already used one of his field blowers. He was probably running low, might have even had a couple prized. Like, he would not have been able to effectively use Greninja Break plus Starmie. So that was... just kind of a, well, I mean, that was just a phenomenal matchup for us. Like, that really was. Like, I'm not even gonna BS you guys about that. That was just a great matchup. We were able to take a prize early and able to just start spreading damage. Our opponent would not have been able to effectively utilize abilities, which is what makes Greninja Break that good. And yeah, able to take the win. So that is the deck, guys. Hope you all enjoyed watching. I'm gonna have to end it there because I am very busy this week, unfortunately. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.